So this is the meeting for the Swiss Medical Students Convention 2020, which is fully virtual due to the coronavirus, bringing again a lot of COVID-19 to Switzerland. Hello to everybody. I'm flattered to be asked to speak for the Swiss Medical Students Association. You are our future. And when I'm in the nursing home, I would like to have good doctors taking care of me. I was asked to speak about a rather difficult situation, family unfriendly extreme. That's more or less still the case in Switzerland. So what I'm going to tell you is some personal details about me, my education, and I have the story that I did get fired, and it was a discriminatory thing to do by my former employer. I will tell you the story. I will talk about the judgments because I went in front of court. Then I will talk about some facts of discrimination and in maternity protection. I'll show you some data and numbers. And I'll do some proposals for the future. And at the day of the convention, we will have an online chat. So who am I? My name is Natalie Urwyler. I'm an anesthesiologist. I did my studies of medicine in Bern, and they ended in 2000. I have a FMH, so a title as anesthesiologist in Switzerland, which I did 2009. In addition, I have a Fachausweis. It's not it's a special for like a fellowship for emergency medicine. I have this for pre-hospital emergency medicine and clinical emergency medicine. Then in 2010, I did a postdoctoral research fellowship at the Stanford University in California. There I was working in point of care, coagulation monitoring, and transfusion management. 2012, I came back to Switzerland, and 2014, I did get the Venia Docendi. So this is the PD Privatdozent for anesthesiology from the University of Bern. I'm only the second woman in Switzerland who did reach that title of the University of Bern. 2018, I did another class for leading emergency physician. This is to manage bigger events like big car crashes or even worse, fires or floods or things like this. So shortly, or in a few words, I'm a highly qualified professional. So what did happen? As I said, 2000, I finished my studies at the University of Bern. Then I worked in a smaller hospital, and 2003, I got to the University of Bern for my internship, my residency in anesthesiology. And I stayed there after that as intern and as attending anesthesiologist till 2014. When I came back from Stanford in 2012, I was one of the advanced or the only advanced woman in career advanced woman, one of the very few who was allowed to do research, who did get published. And for that, I became a sort of a role model. And I was approached with different problems like discrimination in promotion, not respecting maternity protection, the usual daily business you probably already feel if you're working in a hospital. I tried to communicate with my superiors. I did respect the ladder you have to take. First, you go to your superior, then to the boss, and then it was taken in front of the Committee for Equal Rights at the Medical Faculty of the University of Bern. Unfortunately, these discussions escalated in a very bad way, and things did get a lot more difficult for me and for other women. 2013, I was pregnant myself, and I gave birth to my daughter in November of 2013. And after the small pause for giving birth and nursing, I wanted to come back. At the University Hospital of Bern, you get 16 weeks of maternity leave. And my former boss did put a ban of research on me, so I was not allowed to proceed with my research projects. He did block all the money and all the projects. And he also decided that I could not participate anymore in teaching activities at the university, which is for a person who is on the academic track to become a professor. It's assassination. It's the end of a career if you do so. I also asked for a reduction of my level of employment. I always was working 100%, but during the nursing phase and the phase where the child is really small, I wanted to work 80% because with 100%, I was working between 60 and 80 hours a week. So I wanted to have 1 day off per week. Unfortunately, this was refused. And for all these reasons, I made a written complaint to the University of Bern about the prevention of my academic career as a woman and a mother, because the most severe thing which was done to me was to block all my research and to block my research money and not to letting me have the opportunity to teach at the university. I never got an answer, but the first thing I heard from the employer was in June 2014, and this was the termination. So I got fired June 2014. I was very unhappy. I tried to get another job in another hospital, which was not possible. I never did get answers to my letters of proposals. And a person I know told me that he has been contacted by my former boss and his surroundings with the information that they should not give me a job. And that was the point where I decided now I have to do something about it. So I went to court. I asked, or I said that this termination of my employment was discriminatory. And after 4 years in front of court, the court decided, they affirmed both. I had to go through two instances. I had to go through regional Regionalgericht, Canton of Bern, and Obergericht. Both courts affirm the existence of a discriminatory termination of revenge, that's a juristic term, and order my reinstatement pursuant the Article 10 of the Swiss law about equality. It's a jurisprudence. It has never been done before in Switzerland, and for sure not against a institution of this size. So what does the article about equality say? I did blow it up a bit. The termination of employment by an employer may be challenged if it takes place without good cause, following a complaint of discrimination by the employee to a superior, or the initiation of proceedings before a conciliation board or a court by the employee. In this case, the protection against dismissal applies for the duration of any complaints, procedure at the place of work, and of any conciliation or court proceedings, and for 6 months thereafter. So if you complain about discrimination, you can't be fired because of that without good cause. And you have a protection until this complaint is answered and 6 months thereafter. Legally, the judgment got valid in September 2018, and it was accepted by Inselspital. They did not appeal to the federal court because from the juristic point of view, it was clear. It's just clear. The judgment is very sadly not implemented. They just renewed my leave of absence. So they said, you cannot come back to work at our institution. It's also rather difficult for me to accept that a damage of millions has no consequences, because it was, the whole court thing was rather expensive for both sides, and it's not okay that taxpayers just have to pay for that. So the situation now, as it is a disrespect of the Constitution, because the law is not followed. It's a disrespect of the law and of justice, because the verdict of the is not respected. On paper, there is equality, or there would be equality if the laws would be followed. So first of all, there is a federal law of equality of women and men in Switzerland. There is the labor law in Switzerland, which regulates conditions, working conditions during pregnancy and nursing. And it's not open if you want to follow it. It's the law, and you can do something about it if it's not followed. Also, both institutions, the University of Bern and Inselspital Bern, they have rules, written down rules, how they would like to be, or an entrepreneur who offers compatibility for family and career, and who provides equality. So first of all, I would like to show you a page, admin.ch. You can choose the language. You can see it up here. You can choose the language. Here is the page of the law about equality. And down here, you have the link. You will get a handout, or you can download a handout, because we're virtual, where you have all the links I do present. Everything I present is available on the internet. Another very good page is from SECO. Here you see the link. You will also get it in the download. This is a guide which prevents information, what can be done during pregnancy and what should be avoided, and how you have to behave against the employer and how the employer has to behave against you as a pregnant woman. On the webpage of the University of Bern, you can see that there is also, you can choose the language, and there is a special page about equality. You have the legal basis. You can look up your rights. Next thing is the medical faculty. There you can't choose the language anymore. It's just existing in German, but I guess other universities in the French part of Switzerland or in the Italian part of Switzerland should have the same thing. I didn't check. But here in Bern, you find a booklet, what should be followed, what they think should be possible at the University of Bern in the question of equality of men and women. And also, Inselspital has a homepage. There is also a booklet how they should behave, but this is not public. That's why I am not showing it here, but they have internal rules and regulations saying that they do respect equality between men and women. What I would like to show here is, I'm going to translate that for the Roma and the Italian or Tessiner who are listening. The individual development of our employees is very important for us. Your professional career and your career model is transparent, and continued education is supported. And the last sentence is really strange. More than half of our management positions are covered with female persons. So as I'm a researcher, I was looking up the facts. I just love facts, and I do not believe it until it's proven. That's how I did research. That's how I more or less live today. So I was looking up on the page of the management of Inselspital. I found 2 women. That's a change. When I began my discussion with them, there was no woman in the management. So now there are 2 women. So this is new since 2018. That was when Miss Stempfli came, and Miss Adomite, I guess this was at the end of 2019. And one newspaper called that the Urwyler effect, which is flattering. So we have already 22% women in the management of the biggest hospital in Switzerland. It's a good sign. It's a good development. If we think back, 2014, 0% women. So positive evaluation. Okay, so then I got further to the place where I was working. As you can see, management of the clinic where I was working, 80% men, 20% women. Then I did look up for the good positions. So one would be Vertragsarzt. That's where you get the money. You're allowed to do private treatment. This gives you a lot more money, a lot more power. And I did look up, that would be the middle management. That would be upper management. That would be middle management. ärztliche Stationsleitung. So Vertragsärzte, the ones who are allowed to have private patients, is 100% male, zero female. That's where the money is. Stationsleiter, there are more. You can see that's the middle management, lower management, 20 men, 3 women, which gives you an average of 15% women. So after reading the online page, I was asking myself, where are these 50% positions, management positions, filled with women? So I was looking. I found that the secretary of the head of department was a woman. I found that the person in charge of hygiene is a woman. I found that the person who designs a website is a woman. So these things are special functions. I guess they are taken as a management position. Otherwise, I cannot explain how they find 50% women in management. So I went back to the upper management from the institution, and I found, oh, all the secretaries in the management are female. So maybe these positions are considered as management positions. I don't know, but I guess it's a good position. If you are the secretary of the CEO of that institution, you have a good position as a secretary, but you're not the CEO. Another thing, these are rather old numbers from 2013. You can see the distribution of doctors, of the gender of doctors. And you can see that in the upper management, if we really take Chefärzte inklusive stellvertretende Chefärztinnen, you can find 13% women. If you go down to the middle management, you can find 18% women. I can say that Oberärztin 1 may be part of the middle management. So I would be around 34, 35%, but not 50. In contrary, what we clearly see is that the youngsters, you are much more female than 30 years ago. This change came a long time ago, but it did not promote itself into the upper management. The FMH published a press release in March 2019, which said 2018, also already 2 years ago, 43% of all active doctors were women, but only 12% of chief physicians, head of department, are women. So this is the image of a pretty leaky pipeline. And we're going to go watch a little bit what's behind these numbers. I say that the reason for this picture, only 12% women in really leading management position, is a discrimination in promotion. If you compare doctors with foreign doctors who made their studies abroad, doctors who are not Swiss. And I'm saying that because when I wanted to study medicine, we just introduced numerus clausus because they said we have too many doctors and we can cover a need if we would have one someday, we could cover that by foreigners. And the need for doctors did raise in the last years, as you know. And we had to cover many, many, many positions by foreigners. So for Oberärzte, it's about 50%, Leitende it's about 38%, and it's 30% for head of department. So we have more than double the number of male foreigner bosses than we have female bosses in medicine. This development needs an explanation for me. Why are we not capable to give a chance to the people who had their education in Switzerland? So here, this is my opinion. I tell you, there is no shortage in doctors. There are only discriminated women. The economic consequences of this behavior is that many MDs, medical doctors, leave the profession because the circumstances are not as attractive as they were anymore. And the life for women, if you are a mother or if you have social responsibilities, and most of women do, it's really, really difficult. I'm 46 now, and I have many friends of mine, female friends, who left the profession because it was not possible to have a life. It was not possible to share everything and to have a good salary because they did not get promoted. What we also create with this behavior is a shortage in human power in the medical system. That's what we see now with COVID. To leave a profession where you invested so much time and studies is difficult for every person. It decreases your income and it decreases what you pay into your pensions. And it does also an economic damage, because women who work part-time in the lower sector or who do not work anymore because it's not feasible to work and to have a family and to follow the social responsibilities, they usually have no income anymore. No income means no taxes. By doing this, we spill a lot of money because we cannot use the people who had their education in Switzerland. And they're telling me that it's really expensive to educate doctors. They say something between 500,000 and 1 million Swiss francs are invested in such a person. Nice if you don't let her work after that. And it's also spilled tax money which went into grants. I myself, I had a grant from the Swiss Schweizerische Nationalfonds, and I can't use the knowledge I learned in Stanford. So there also, you spill money if you educate people and then you're not letting them use their education. So this led me to do another lawsuit for financial damage. The aim of this lawsuit is to put a price tag on a female career. We had the request for conciliation in June 2020. This is always how you start a lawsuit. The first step is always the essay of a conciliation. The level of damage, I was fired when I was 40 years old. At the time, I had 24 years still to work, and I guess I'll have to work longer because the age for AHV will rise, because the age of our society is rising. So I think I would have worked more than 5 years after I got fired. If you take an average male career for someone who has a habilitation in medicine, 25 years of income would be somewhere around 3.5 millions, and we did subtract the income I'm making. So it would be more, but we subtract the income I'm still making. And you have also to think about how much income you would put into your pension in 25 years. And this is the part of your life where you work and where you earn money. You don't put a lot of money into your pension between 20 and 25 or 20 and 35. This is really between 40 and retirement. In my case, it was calculated at about 900,000 Swiss francs. And the calculation, that's not something we invented. It's calculated as if I would have had an accident and I would have a problem and couldn't work full time anymore, with a little difference that I did not have an accident on the road or something. I did have an accident of discrimination. So the aim of this lawsuit is clearly to get a price tag on a prevented female career. And the price for my career is about 5 million. So when I talk about discrimination, usually I get told there are no women who qualify for leadership positions. We were really looking hard, but we did not find someone who was qualified. So I show the data. And this is the gender distribution of schools of medicine in Switzerland between 1980 and 2012. I do totally agree that 1980, 40 years ago, we did not have many women. But today we do, and we do have enough. And the change where the two lines cross each other, blue is women, black is man, the change was in 1999, so 21 years ago. And after 20 years of education, you do qualify for a leadership position. So since 20 years, we have more women who study medicine than men in Switzerland. And it's pretty much the same abroad. Usually I only talk about medicine because that's the only thing I was working in my whole life. But I was looking up from the Bundesamt für Statistik. They do a lot of numbers. They calculate quite everything. What I found was, here you see a table with education. So the darker it gets, the better is the education. What you can see is that women are catching up with education. If you go up in age, you see very few women with good education. If you take education between 25 and 34 years, then you see that women have more education than men today. So if they were really looking hard, they would find women. They are there. They have the education. It would be possible to give leadership position to women. So the facts are the facts. They can't be changed. But very often people tell me after that, but you know, we asked some of these women who would qualify, but they don't want to. Women usually do not want to have leadership positions. So here's just the best of how you make women not to want leadership position. A woman wanted to pursue her academic career, and she told that in a discussion about career, which should be done regularly by your superiors with you. And she told, I would like to pursue an academic career. And the answer was, what? You? Don't you want a child? And this is very bad. It's a very bad expression because it's it asks the question, but you're a woman. You need to be a mother. Why won't you be a mother? You're not a good woman if you don't have a child. And it's this guilt which is put upon our shoulders, which is just not acceptable. We would do better in giving women the opportunity to be both a professional and a mother, as we should give the opportunity to fathers to be a professional and a father. Another best off is several women from a clinic went to their clinic director and told him, we would like to have women in leadership positions. And they had a whole list of possible women where they thought they would be advanced enough in the profession. So he had, against any of these women they presented, he had something against. And in the end, he said, I don't see any woman in a leadership position. So it's not really the women who don't want. And there's another important thing I would not miss to mention. It's at the point where a man is ready to take up a social responsibility, he's also criticized, like we women are criticized. So a father where his wife was pregnant with a second child, and he tried to plan his paternity leave, which would be granted on paper by the Inselspital and many other employers. And he went to the planner and said, listen, this is the date of birth of my child, preview, and I would like to plan. And the answer of the planner was just, this makes no sense at all. At the beginning, you cannot do anything as a man at home. And I think it's a sad expression, because when you give birth, you're really tired after that. And then you have a little human being who does not know when there is the day, when there is night. It's just, it screams when it's hungry. And at the beginning, more or less every 3 hours. So it's a lot of work for the woman. She doesn't sleep a lot. And it's so comfortable if your husband or partner just cooks dinner, just cleans the bathroom, just does the laundry. And these things, they are not connected to being female. You can do the dishes without an uterus. And again, facts, because I'm a research person and I do believe in facts, in really evaluating the facts. So clearly independent of my person, there was a academic evaluation of Inselspital at the time, if the structures in the hospital were good for being pregnant, becoming a mom, and nursing. So the result was insufficient. And it was insufficient because the changes which would be needed are defined by law. It's a law, it's not voluntary. You cannot say we are nice if we do not expose pregnant women to x-rays. No, you're not nice. This is the law, because it can be deadly for the fetus in the first trimester. It can harm the fetus later. It's not good. If you follow these rules and regulations, you're not nice. You are applying the law. And that's why it was classified by these researchers as insufficient. There was a second study done by the University of Bern, about working climate and discrimination because of gender at the university. Same period as when I was in discussion. So what they found was that discrimination because of gender was a real problem and something needed to be done. And they made several recommendations. You will have the links to these works in the download afterwards, so you can read the whole work if you wanted to. So what they recommend is zero tolerance for discrimination and sanctions. You really need to do something about it. You cannot tolerate that. Second recommendation is to make aware to the managers that they have responsibility to really live equality. Third recommendation is to have an equal, to have women in leadership positions, and that is, it has to represent the percentage of women at the base. So if we have, like I have shown in the slide before, we have nearly 60% of residents, but we only have 13% of bosses, chief physicians. So that's not working. Fourth recommendation is to make people aware what is a discriminatory behavior and what is not. So now, enough of showing off of problems. Now we need to think about what can we do? How can we survive under these extremely unfriendly conditions? Because we would all like to have a life, which is human. We would, most of us, but a lot of us would like to be parents. And being a parent means also to spend a certain time with your child, to take up social responsibilities. And if you don't want to have a child, for sure you have parents or an uncle or an aunt you have to take care of, or a neighbor who is in need of help, like we have seen in Corona now. Elderly people couldn't go to buy groceries anymore, so they needed our support. And it's human and it's good to have a life outside of your job. So I think it's really important to make female work / care work visible. There are many men doing a wonderful work, helping each other, being there for each other. And there are many, many, many wonderful dads out there. And they're getting more and more. So it's not just female work. But if you look at it statistically, you just find that most of the non-paid care work is done by women. Make it visible. Talk about it. I'm not sure, we can't pay for everything we do. And I think it's probably not necessary. But I think it's important to show all the help we did for during Corona for the more exposed or more part at risk. Talk about it, show it. Claim your rights. You have rights as employee, and we have certain ideas of how we would live with each other. As an example, Guy Parmelin did tell, it's about some weeks ago, that we should have 30% of female professors at the university. So this is something said by federal council, and we should follow it. 30%, we're far away. We have about half of it. Build a network. I did underestimate this point. many positions, leadership positions, they do not show up um, in a journal or newspaper or in the yellow our yellow magazine. Many positions are just distributed by knowledge. You know someone who knows someone who knows someone who could fit the position. And this is definitely the case for Verwaltungsrat. So these positions, they go through, they go through a network. Build groups. As a group, you are stronger, and it's not a one human being which is exposed. I was exposed alone during my process in front of court, which was sometimes really hard. I was lucky; everything was fine. I have a very strong family. I had a good um, advocate. I had most of the things were just perfect to go through that, but it's not always perfect. You do not always have the support you need. Therefore, build groups. And especially if you go and talk about sexual harassment, you should never do that as a single person because it exposes you. And statistically, we know most of these complaints finish by the fact that the woman leaves the 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 woman leaves the hospital or her work. It's usually not the other way around. Participate in associations. As an example, we have Medical Women Switzerland, who does an amazing job for female doctors, and you can get help from them if needed. And there are many other associations where you can get help, information, and you appear stronger if you come in a group. From the employer side, from the hospitals, there are certain things they need to realize. First of it is they need to realize that in every hospital, if you take all the employees together, usually they are 80% of the employees in a hospital are female. MDs are catching up. We saw that 43% of the active MDs are female. In the hospitals, it's probably a bit higher because of the education, because younger doctors are more female than the older group of doctors. And the rest, nurses, physiotherapists, nutritionists, radiology technician, OR technician, and many low-income jobs like cleaners. We have a lot of personnel who cleans every day, a lot of things in the OR, in everywhere. And these are very female jobs. We have men and we have more and more male nurses, which I do appreciate, but the standard is still female. And now the hospital needs to realize, sorry, needs to realize that it has to accept and see that these women have social obligations. Many women do have children or do take care of parents, of their own parents, of the parents of their partner. But usually they have something in their lives which has to be done besides their work. And this is also a very important thing which makes our society run. And there's another thing coming up. Modern men, I call them modern men, are willing to recognize that they have to participate in assuming social obligations. So your mother who is ill is not just the problem of your female partner because she is the female. Now men are taking up the responsibility, and maybe they take the mother to the hospital. They are there for her, and this costs time, but it's necessary. It's the values of our society. So now I'm talking about the gender gap, and you have to be aware. Now we talk about a lot of money, and I will do a calculation for you to see a bit how these big numbers um, come together. So if you calculate a value for childcare in Switzerland, this would be 100 billion Swiss francs. If you compare that to the taxes paid by all companies together in Switzerland, it's only 38 billion Swiss francs. So the value of childcare is double as high as all taxes from all companies together. It's an important work. The material disadvantage in terms of annual income between women and men in Switzerland is about 110 billion Swiss francs. Reasons for that is the pay gap. Women do not earn as much money as men. There was a study done by FMH which calculated that female doctors do earn around 30% less than male doctors with the same education. For sure, it's multifactorial. It's not just discrimination, but if there is 15% discrimination, it's way too high. There, I want to see a zero. I want to see zero difference between a male and a female income for the same job. So it's a loss in pay because usually women do work part-time to take up social responsibilities. It's a lot of unpaid care work, which takes time from the woman, and she cannot work for money as with a high percentage. And it's a difference in the social security system. If you want to know more about that, here you have the source. It's Masha Madorin. It's a woman who calculates all kinds of things. It's very interesting to read her homepage and to have a look into these numbers, because these are the big expenses of our society. So how do you get such big numbers? I just made a calculation more for fun. So if I say every woman in Brieg is where I live, does cook 2 hours per day. You invest 2 hours per day into your family, which is not much, huh? Which is not much. And you pay 25 francs an hour. This would be 730 hours a year because there's no weekend. Your kids want to eat at the weekend too. So no day off. This gives you 18,250 Swiss francs. The day when I was, or what I found as information was that Brieg has 13,000 inhabitants. I did it not very properly. I just said half of it are female, because more or less the population is half female. So if every woman in Switzerland, in Brieg, sorry, invests 2 hours into their family for cooking a day, for a wage of 25 francs a day, this would cost the community of Brieg 118 million francs a year. So 180 million francs per year for Brieg. We're not talking about Switzerland. When you talk about Switzerland, you go up to 100 billions a year. And when I do these calculations, often I'm told, there's the freedom of choice. Women want to be mothers. Women do not want to work. Women want to stay at home. If a woman wants to stay at home and be a housewife and mother, I'm pretty much okay with that. As long as you organize Social Security, as long as you think about it, what is going to happen if you divorce? That's important to regulate. If you're 25, you don't think about divorce. But at my age, I do have a lot of friends who are divorced. It's not so easy to stay together with your partner all life long. You need to have a solution. What is going to happen when that happens? And the other thing is really, right now, we just put a lot of pressure of responsibilities on shoulders of women without really asking them. Remember the best of I made you? Um, the woman who asks or who states that she wanted to pursue an academic career, and the reaction is just, "What? You don't you want a child? You're a woman. You have to have a child." So it's an obligation by society to have children, which I do not support. If you want it, it's really good. But if you don't want it, it's really good too. So I wanted to talk about another point of view, economic point of view, about the gross domestic product, Bruttoinlandprodukt. It measures the economic strengths of a country, and you have to be aware, and that's about the social responsibilities. If you marry your cleaning lady, you are lowering the GDP because you are not paying for this work anymore. So this is not good for economy to have work which is not paid. If everyone gets paid, everyone pays taxes, everyone pays in social security. So that's the more interesting way to do it. If you marry your cleaning lady, you're lowering the GDP. And therefore, you must understand that a man who is working in a position, a good position, making a lot of money, but he is inhibiting a woman from paid work. So his participation in GDP is 50%. Usually they tell me that leadership positions, they need to be permanently available, always there. And so that's why his woman can't work, because she needs to free him to be available all the time. Because if you have to take care of a child, you cannot be available all the time because you can't bring the child everywhere. So once again, a man who is doing this, who is prohibiting a woman to do paid work, he contributes to the GDP by 50%. Yup. And it's really important to have an idea how your social security is. I remember you that the damage through my ruined career is calculated by 900,000 Swiss francs for about 25 years where I'm not paying enough. So another important thing, daycare centers. For me, it's an important part of economy because it was calculated the return of investment if you have daycare. Usually, I get told it's way too expensive. We cannot allow that, but this is not true because if you have daycare, women can go to work. Women who work pay taxes. Women who work pay into their social security. Daycare make businesses flourish. You need food for the kids. They create jobs because you need infant educators. You need a caretaker of the building. You need a gardener. You need several things around daycare. And the children do get socialized. They have a lot of fun playing with each other, even if they are only 1 year old. They really enjoy to see other kids. And there's one more point I only realized when I had a kid myself. Daycare is a extremely important measure to do integration. We have a lot of people with immigration background, and those children, they do not have a childhood like easy like we have it. They usually speak another language, and if you just try to teach them the language, the national language, at school age, you're too late. They're already lost. You need daycare to do a good integration. And there comes a more sad part. There are children who are born into very dysfunctional families, and their daycare can be the place where they are loved and where they learn how we interact with each other, how to behave. I hope that this part of children stays low. So, what can hospitals do to get more modern, to react to the change on the work market? So, I think they should offer leadership positions in part time for men and women. I usually think you should have a high percentage um, part-time job. I don't think you can work 20% over years. 20% may be a solution of the birth during the nursing phase or something, or maybe for men after a cardiac attack or something. But 20% is not a long-term solution. Um, then I think hospitals should have flexible solutions for absences like pregnancy, breastfeeding period. Maybe during pregnancy, you cannot take over all shifts like night shifts and weekend shifts. It can be very hard, but you could, as an example, do your thesis, write a book chapter, or rewrite the standards of your clinic. There's a lot of work laying around, which you can't really do when you're full in clinic, but when you are only allowed to work 50% or not so heavy work, you can differentiate that. The gynecologist can differentiate the the work the woman can do. But I think even if you have to lay or to rest a lot, you can still do some work. You can still bring some value to your institutions. But solutions need to be a bit more flexible than they are today. Then I think hospitals should have daycare in their institution, or they should co-work if they don't have it. They should co-work with daycare to cover their hours, because it's the hospital who asks us to do late shifts and night shifts and weekend shifts. So what do I do? We are very often we are in couple with another doctor. So what do we do if we're both on night shifts, if we're both on weekends, if we both work till 7 or 8 p.m.? So a hospital should think about solutions. What do I do? And hospitals need to think about solutions. What can be done for taking care of sick children or sick parents or sick disabled people? Because many co-workers, employees in a hospital do have a social responsibility against someone. And these structures can be organized. Also, a good idea could be that enterprises or hospitals do have or support the institution who provides housekeepers, nannies, cleaners, because we can only work if someone does our housework. But it's an interesting economic model because everyone earns money. So a hospital or a division, a corporation, something can help to provide these services, and it rises the GDP, economically thought. And we can avoid the black market for cleaning ladies or childcare. And I think we should not choose a low price solution for childcare, because children are our future. So what can we do? This is the slide I already showed. So make female work, care work visible. Talk about it. Claim your rights. If there is a paternal leave, ask for it, even if you're criticized. Your friends will follow. And it will get normal that the father has to be home when a child is born or when a child is sick, because you have the right to have 4 days off to take care of a sick family member. Also, a man has that right. Claim your rights. Build a good network. Help each other. If there is something to complain about, better do it in groups than alone. Participate in associations like Swiss Medical Women or something comparable. You will appear stronger if you ask for something in the name of an association. Share your ideas. Think outside of the box. There are creative solutions for nearly everything. As an example, this is from the canton of Bern. There are classes available for where you as in a leadership position can learn how to handle equality or how to handle sexual harassment. It's not only the question, does it exist? And can we complain? It's also the question, what do we do about it? Ask your supervisor if they have education in this area, or suggest it, or take this education for you. So what can we do? What can be done? I really suggest that you read these two research works I mentioned before about maternity protection and discrimination at the university due to gender. They make several pages of recommendation which can be implemented really in a hospital without a lot of problems. It's feasible. For maternity protection, we really need to control the real conditions. We really need to see in a clinic, are women really protected if they are pregnant from X-rays, from radioactivity, from toxic substances? As you know, we have many of them in medicine. And if there is something which is not working, take over the work of a pregnant woman, because she will thank you. She will take your work when you're pregnant or your wife is pregnant. We have to have a friendly culture because we cannot foresee every difficult situation. Then the law changed for the control of equal pay, and this should include bonuses. This should include bonuses, not just the basal rate dictated by the canton. But I hope the new law will change things right here. And then I was against quotas at the time. I always thought if you work hard enough, it's going to work. I learned that it's not going to work. We need quotas. We can't do anything about discrimination in promotion with the actual situation. We need quotas, otherwise it will never change. And we need managers, leaders to get trained to live equality and to know what to do about sexual harassment. And it would be nice if we follow the law and if we follow implementation of court decisions. In my case, nothing was followed. I do hope that the situation is better today for women, but for me, it didn't make it any better. So now I thank you a lot for your attention. I hope you learned some interesting stuff, and I will be available for the online chat. Bye-bye and thank you.